Nothing is given to the Russians.
Absolutely false.
Not even a mine?
Why give? If the Russians want a mine, we have the mining code. They come and integrate into it. We give them the permit, they pay taxes, and they do everything they have to do like everyone else.
But with what do you pay the Russians then? They don't come for your good looks.
Yes. With what do we pay them? First of all, when did the Russians arrive? In Burkina, the last time instructors came was because they need to train the people military on the equipment. And it's the same with all countries, not just the Russians. When we sign a contract to acquire equipment, we sign the contract with the training included. There are plenty of Turks here. Why don't they talk about it?
Who are specialized in drones, rather?
We paid for drones with Turkey under an assistance contract. More than a year ago. The whole time we've been here, the Turks have been here. Why don't we talk about it?
It's morning here in the village. I don't know what time it is that you're watching this video, but good morning. So, they say that an enemy of your enemy is your friend. Is that true? Is an enemy of your enemy your friend? Answer me that on the comment section, because I think I have my own answer. I believe that an enemy of your enemy should not be your enemy as well, but neither should they be your friends. You see, situations might always change and things always happen differently to people that makes them become foes or makes them become friends, you know. For this case, we are speaking about Ibrahim Traore. We're also speaking about Russia and America. They've been having wrangles ever since the end of the Second World War. We saw the Cold War came in. They had conflicts in many fields, you know, the space race, political ideologies, economic ideologies. The Cold War, which was being polished and was being maximized and being pushed by the Russians, which was then called the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republic. It was such a large and a huge organization, with Russia being the largest part of the USSR. Today the USSR does not exist, but we still have Russia, which still holds on to some of these ideology that the USSR once had, you know. So on the other hand, we had USA, the world police, the top man himself, you know. They call themselves the custodians of humanity. I highly caution that they really ain't the custodians of humanity because of their ways, you know. So these two countries, Russia or USSR and USA, have been having conflicts, you know. It was back then since the Cold War, but still happens up to date. There is nothing new that happens under this sun. Everything that you see happening today is something that happened before, and it's something that probably will happen to another people. You know, what changes is the people. The person who was president, Joseph Stalin, might have been the president back then. So these people have escalated their conflict up to Africa. And we find that there are some countries in Africa which are collaborating with the USA. There are some countries in Africa which are collaborating with the USSR. Regardless of which side you choose, what matters most is which side is beneficial to you and your people. You know, the USSR has always conducted itself in a way that is pleasing to many Africans, because they trade with us as equal partners. They don't trade with us, or they don't act on us or with us in such a way that diminishes us or makes us look inferior. No, they don't look at us that way. But the West, in as much as we pay them, they still make us look inferior. They don't take us as equal, you know. So Ibrahim Traore is a perfect example of one of those leaders who was introduced and who has allowed USSR or Russia to come and live in their country, work in their country, and train their soldiers, which is very, very questionable to so many, you know. But in real sense, it shouldn't be questionable. The moment other people allow USA and they think it's not questionable, why should Russia be questionable? Is it because USA has told us that Russia is bad? Or is it that we ourselves have enough proof that Russia is bad? And also we have proof, enough proof, I mean, that USA is good. Tell me, remember my question, is an enemy of your enemy your friend or your foe? There shouldn't be any of that. In a particular interview, Ibrahim Traore gives a different perspective, a perspective that is very much interesting when he was asked about the Russian presence in Burkina Faso. I think we should listen to this interview. I shall get back with a deeper critical analysis.
The territories that were under control, if we can say so, for 2, 3, 4 years, we are setting foot there.
Yet there is talk of more attacks than before, when there were foreign armies on the territory.
Yes. Are you sure? More attacks, that's relative. Today we are on the offensive in most areas. We are no longer in a defensive posture. We are going towards the enemy. We are seeking the enemy. When we decided to take our destiny into our own hands, as they say, it's quite an important and very courageous decision. And when you decide like that, all the sleeper cells wake up at once. And that's when you realize the magnitude of the terrorism situation. We realized it well. But to wage war, there is first patriotism, there is logistics, there is now. It wouldn't have been possible a few years ago.
Why?
You have to know how to awaken patriotism in each people. Make them confident, knowing that their homeland is the only thing they have left. We managed to do that. That's why when we ask them to contribute, they do it. We ask people to enlist to fight for their position. Even today, if we decide that we want 1 million Burkinabe to fight the others.
Volunteer.
Defend homeland.
Defense of homeland.
Yes. People are ready. They are committed.
Isn't it dangerous for them?
No, it's their homeland.
It's their homeland.
All over the world, people have fought for their homeland. And why?
Mr. President, when we say that, one tends to ask the question, this terrorism has been ongoing for a while in our territories, with armies that have come and extraordinary sums spent, with high-quality military arsenal so far. How do you explain that suddenly? You decide that the three of you will fight this without the others. Is it realistic? What makes it more feasible today than with those armies that were there?
It's more than realistic. There have been several situations. We have had the opportunity to be on the ground. Many other officers you might encounter have had the chance to be on the ground and have maneuvered with these foreign armies. On your own territory, you are given restrictions. They do whatever they want. What's even more surprising, imagine you said with all the technology they had, they might currently have satellites observing everything. They had drones, helicopters, all types of devices. But we never saw the terrorists. Today we have decided to wage war. But do you realize? We find them every day, and we whip them. So there is a problem.
For you, there wasn't a real willingness to fight them then?
No willingness to fight them?
Okay.
If they wanted to, they could do it. The terrorists would never have reached this level.
So today we say, if they are achieving results, if they are making some progress, it's because they have the Russians with them. There was Wagner, which we talked about. Today we even have the Russians who are going to open their first military base with Africa Corps. Mr. President, are the Russians helping you? And is their help better than that of the foreign armies that were present until now?
You know, as far as Burkina is concerned, for example, we have always been in contact with Russia. And I tell you, the equipment that the Burkinabe had, 80% of it was Russian equipment.
Oh, really?
Of course.
But yet you had a stronger military relationship with the French. How do you explain that?
Yes, because this equipment dates back to perhaps the years of the revolution. Of course, we have equipment dating back to the years of the revolution, which are still in use, Russian and Korean, North Korean equipment, which are still fighting in our army.
And are they more effective?
The army was neglected, don't forget that. Since the 1990s, with the so-called structural adjustment program, everything has been distorted. There were soldiers standing guard with sticks. We disarmed the army, our armies. It was well prepared. No more equipment, no more training, nothing. People were just wearing the uniform, and terrorism joined the dance a few years later. And it's broadcasted on all the media. They are unable to fight. We will come to help them. And terrorism is only gaining ground. Today with Russia, the relationship is primarily strategic. That I think you understand much better than we do. And with Russia, there isn't this equipment that we wish to pay for with them, that they don't sell. The others impose restrictions on us.
They tell you you cannot buy this type of weapon.
Of course.
Yet the Russians sell you everything you want.
Everything we want. Up to the moment I'm speaking to you, we are being blocked from licenses for certain aircraft. There are types of weapons they will never sell us.
And how do they explain these restrictions to you?
You know, I asked the question, where is the friendship? What do they want? There are many countries, the Russians, the Chinese, the Turks, the Koreans, and so on. There are no restrictions. With Iran, everything we want, they will accommodate us. If we can pay, we pay. But with these states that were supposedly our friends, there are restrictions. There are even some who have told us that they can't sell us anything lethal.
Oh, really? So you're at war and you can't kill the one in front of you?
Yes, the terrorist kills us. But we might have the duty to pick up stones. Maybe even the stone is lethal. Anything lethal, they won't sell to us. That's their principle.
So today with Russia, what are they getting in return? We know well that there is no friendship between states. It's always about interests. Everyone comes for their own interests. So today, there is a fear among some people that we've just swapped one master for another. However, I know you a little bit to know that you are not about replacing one master with another. What are you giving the Russians very concretely for them to be there? Are they taking minerals? How are you paying them? Are you selling a portion of the territory? What's the deal?
If the deal was really to leave one master for another, we would rather die. Because when we say the homeland or death, it has its full meaning. No, it's just media. Lies again. And unfortunately, we even saw heads of state who fell for it, who went on to spread lies. Supposedly that we gave mines to the Russians in our southern part. Completely false. Why don't we talk about it? They are here, they support us. They have trained our teams, our crews in Turkey. They come here, they assist them, and they continue to train them in piloting, maintenance, and everything. We have the contract for a given period. When our men are well trained, they will leave. It's the Chinese, they are here. The equipment we buy from China, they are also here to train in the handling of that equipment. That's the reality.
But are they on the ground or not, the Russians?
On the ground to fight? No. There are no Russians on the ground to fight. These are things developed actually in people's minds. But if needed, they will come to the ground to fight. That I can assure you. If there is a need.
You don't forbid yourself that?
No. If there is a need.
Except now they aren't on ground.
No. For now, we are fighting alone. They support us in terms of training, on logistics, tactical training and everything. They support us in this area.
So, I had asked the question before we digressed. On your current security record, because we have seen some movements of certain populations who are getting a bit impatient. And then, as you said, the people are very resilient, but at some point, enough is enough. So, what have you done so that the Burkina Faso can say, no, President Traore arrived, and he solved this or that internal problem for us?
As for that, we don't talk. I even told the Minister of Communication or others, I don't want us to talk too much about our reconquest. Let the villagers speak for themselves. There are several villages that have been resettled, schools that have opened in various areas. But often, saying that there is no progress, leads the villagers themselves to make videos, to tell people, that's false, you're lying. As for us, we left so many years ago, but we just arrived. We are safe. It was only recently that there have been some reports to truly confirm that people...
Have the displaced people returned home?
Who are even selling their market garden products today. That means they returned several months ago. They had time to cultivate, they did. Several schools have opened.
Because you went on the offensive or because of the VDP?
The offensive is with the VDP. Of course, You know, I was just talking about patriotism and logistics. It's the second aspect that was failing us. But listen, when you take, for example, the attack on Djibo last November, as soon as there was the attack, there was a response from the elements in Djibo and the aerial vectors. The next day, rapid intervention battalions moved towards Djibo with supplies and continued and marched on the Baraboulé base, the terrorist base of Baraboulé, where we hadn't been since 2019. It's from there that they prepare all the attacks, which are Baraboulé, Bou, up to the border at Petekoli. They marched on the terrorist bases. If there was no logistics, it would be impossible. We would sit down to plan the operation. It would already take a month, more than a month, to try to gather the logistics and the men. That's how it happened. And to gather the logistics, I'll share a secret with you. There were times during certain operations here when we borrowed weapons from neighboring countries, carried out the operation, cleaned up, and then returned them.
Yes.
But today, all of this gives us a very bad image. Today, as soon as there's an attack, the Rapid Intervention Battalion is told, you move, because they are fully equipped, ready for combat. We don't have a moment to lose. And immediately they take off and rush into combat. That's how it happens now. There are several battalions that are equipped and positioned all over the country. This is also the increase in power in terms of logistics and tactics.
Mr. President, when we see all this, with all the logistics you mentioned, with the Russians being brought in to inform, as you said, your troops, it costs a lot of money. Can the Burkinabe economy sustain this for long?
Very good question. It costs a lot of money. That's why I say our countries are not poor. There has been mismanagement. There is theft. The plundering of our resources. That's it. That's what it's about. I'll give an example. Today there is the Patriotic Support Fund. The population contributes and we mainly support. The volunteers for the defense of the homeland with it. But what about the rest of the army that we are equipping? All these resources we are acquiring, it's there. It's governance, finances. There are resources, we have potential. But if it's mismanaged, we are a book.
For you, do the countries have enough to sustain themselves by producing and just practicing good governance?
How do we manage to get...
Now, that was Ibrahim Traore. That was the man himself with whom Michael Langley said that he was a problem. He was a challenge. He was not the right leader for the people of Burkina Faso, you know. And I'm now looking back and I'm thinking that Ibrahim Traore is a man who is standing for his people, is a man who wants the liberation of Africa. It doesn't matter which side you choose. Remember, a friend or an enemy of your enemy does not have to be your enemy. They also don't have to be your friends, you know, because once they become your friend, you make yourself an enemy of the other. Once they become your enemy, you make more enemies, you know. So it's rather you just welcome them, you know. They either be your friends or your enemy. As long as they respect you enough, as long as they respect your sovereignty, as long as they respect your independence, which is something Ibrahim Traore values a lot. Many times he speaks about freedom, he speaks about the liberation of his people, he speaks about freedom of speech, freedom of trade, which the United States of America is very problematic in offering to Africans. If there's a country which does not treat Africans as equal, the most is USA. All through those presidents, we've seen that they don't treat us as equal, you know. We can give them tenders. They exploit tenders, you know. But Russia has come here to give us hope. It has come here to show us that we can help you liberate yourselves. You see, Russia is the only superpower in the whole world which never colonized Africans. Those other countries, those other superpowers, even countries way smaller than Russia, colonized Africans. But with Russia, never enslaved any Africans, not on a historical record, not to the record in which we are having the white people from Europe, except Russia, and from the USA. Not at all, not at all. And so I believe that Ibrahim Traore is making the right decision. Listening to him speak, the interviewer was trying to question his stance, but I can tell that this is the kind of interviewer, the journalist now, with whom is used to the Americans. He thinks that whatever the Americans say is what should be. He thinks that might makes it right, but no. Many times, and many times, might does not make it right. Might forces it right, which is not now a right. It's now a dictatorship, you know. The USA calls itself a republic of democracy, but they themselves are not practitioners of that which they say. USA is very far a practitioner of democracy. Where there is democracy, they come and demolish. We've seen many times, we've been shown many proofs. It's upon us to believe and see for ourselves. Yes. Guys, thanks for watching this. I hope you get value from what I do, and if you do, kindly subscribe, give me a support on Patreon. I'll surely appreciate, and see you in the next one.